This is Bob Balch from Fu Manchu, and you're watching Aftershock TV.
Anyway, okay, so let's go, Tom, into our last question of this week. All right, so now, obviously, Pantera, right? You know, whether some people are cool with what's going on with Pantera, some people aren't. The bottom line is this Pantera thing is working out, I think, better than anyone could have expected, especially from their camp. So Phil Anselmo recently said that Pantera shows lit and ignited a fuse and a fire in me. Now, of course, the big question, and then, you know, this is what people have been, you know, when they got back together, this was always the first, I wouldn't say get back together, when the band reformed with Charlie Benante and Zach Wilde, when Phil and Rex Brown had them come on board to do these reunion, if you want to call that, shows. You know, there was, like I said, it was like, I think most people probably thought, okay, they're going to do a tour, maybe two, or maybe play a festival here or there, or maybe that. And that's just going to be it, right? They're going to do it justice. It's a celebration. But you could tell early on, there was this whole thing with, because they're using the Pantera name, they're not calling themselves like, you know, Cowboys from Hell, the Pantera tribute or anything like that.
Yep.
Right? They're calling themselves Pantera. And it sounded almost like, you know, because it was going well, I guess maybe rehearsals or whatever it was, that this was going to be a long-term thing. And it looks like it's going to be. Now, the question is then, should they put out new music under the name Pantera? Okay.
This subject matter has come up a few times, and I have an opinion on this, Mr. Hartnett. And here's what I look at. It's igniting the fire in Anselmo, and it's also igniting a fire in his bank account. So you have to understand here. So they're on a cycle right now. This is cynical me. I'm not saying this is the case, but they're on a cycle right now. They're touring. There's an energy back. I haven't seen it. I saw the original Pantera support Megadeth, I think in 1990, and blew Megadeth off the stage. So I saw the rawness of the early-ish. And I'm a fan. Not a huge fan of their entire discography. I think they've got a couple of weaker albums in there. But overall, you know, their place in rock and metal is established, and thank God for Pantera, right? However, they're on a cycle right now. They did the Metallica thing. They're on their own tour. They're probably on one cycle, maybe two, and they're done. I think they can't keep this going. So from a business perspective, do they need music to keep going? So if they release a new album, then they can tour on the back of a new Pantera release and then get another 2-year cycle from the business perspective.
Totally.
So again, right, that's just a business side. Do I think so? If they are they doing it for that reason? I think that's part of it. I think there's management involved here going, let's get 2 to 3 more years out of a cycle, because, hey, guys, you got maybe one more round and we're out. You're not going to keep filling arenas playing those albums. They're not Guns N' Roses, where they're on their same tour for 7 years. I think it is now, still selling stadiums.
I know.
On one good album. Wow. But to answer your question, coming back to that, was I don't think they should. I do not think they should. That's just my opinion. I just don't think they should, because I think just let Sleeping Dogs Lie. The original 2 Abbott brothers are no longer there. Obviously, Charlie, Zach, stellar musicians, you know, good guys. From what I've seen them in interviews, we've all seen Anthrax, Black Label, whoever over the years. We know what they can do live. The footage is tremendous. And I would pay money. I travel and pay money to go and see that Pantera gig. But my opinion is, leave it be. Don't release a new album. Go back on the cycle for 2 or 3 years, make your money, and just leave the legacy intact. And that's what I say.
You know, when they first decided to do this, I was all about the celebration of it. I was. I started to see, though, that this was going to be just a celebration. You know, I mean, early on, the way they were talking, I think they were just kind of prepping the public to be like, you know, this might and can be and probably will be more than just that. Now, I was very against, you know, and it's one of the reasons I wouldn't say I was against it, not at all. I mean, I was against them doing it, but I wasn't going to go, though, pay a shitload of money to see that. You know, it's like, I've seen them live before. I love Pantera. I do. I love every album. And so to me, at the same time, I was just a huge fan of Dime and just the Abbott Brothers, just what they did for that band. I mean, I mean, Dime is just a character. It's just hard to think of Pantera without him. Without Vinny, you could, sure, the drummer, but without Dime was hard for me. But now that they've done it, fans are happy. I'm not really against it anymore. I'm
Sure.
not. And there's a couple of reasons why. I mean, as you said, of course, they're going to make a killing off it. I mean, so anybody who's waiting for a new Anthrax album out there, you can forget about it. It's not happening for a while. Because what he can make, with Pantera, compared to playing these clubs with Anthrax, it's not even close. I mean, you don't have to.
I wonder just on that. That's a great point you make there. If Charlie was given an option, or if there's a gun put to his head and say, "Hey, listen, we're going back out on the Pantera cycle," and he had to choose, what would he do? Would he play Thousand Seaters?
Pantera, well, because he's also the main songwriter in Anthrax. There is no Anthrax without Charlie. He writes all the music. I don't know if a lot of people don't know it because he's a drummer. They don't realize that it's not Scott Ian that writes all those. It's Charlie Benante that writes the stuff, and so there is no Anthrax without him. So he's the guy. So without him, there is no Anthrax. So. No, I mean, at this point in your life, he's he's like 60. I think he's the oldest out of all the guys there. He's like 62, I think. And so, I mean, this is it, right? If you want to retire, listen, Anthrax, look, as big as they are, they're not really huge. Remember, they had to cancel their shows in Europe because of the logistics, and they said it was just too expensive.
That's right. That was recent.
Yeah, it's recent, exactly. So they're not in a great place, Anthrax. I mean, they've always got to play those package tours. They got to go out with an Overkill or an Exodus, they have to do that. Well, Pantera can go out whatever the hell it is they want. I mean, they're Pantera. So Anthrax is, Scott Ian's going to have to start looking for something else to do right now because there ain't going to be no Anthrax, I think, for a while. And the other thing, too, is the reason why I think it's good is, let's just take a look at the legacy metal bands that are still going. And when we think about that, we'll put, obviously, Pantera's there, and the other big ones, obviously, Metallica, right, and Megadeth, okay? Let's just think of those three, okay? Now, to me, I think Pantera, because right now we're in the 90s resurgence, big time. You see new metal exploding again.
Creed are back out there.
Exactly.
Like that.
Creed, stuff like that's out. Exactly. So people, and that's mostly that, like, 40s, early 50s, okay? I mean, that's what people want to see. People want to, and this is the difference, all right? Let's just compare the three bands. Okay, I think Megadeth, I can't even really put Megadeth in the Pantera and Metallica thing. I mean, they're there, but they're not as big as those two bands. They're just not. I mean, Megadeth, a lot of people don't like Megadeth. A lot of people dislike it because Mustaine's just not a charismatic. He's not that likable of an individual. So there's your hardcore fans of Megadeth, but and the same thing. They haven't really put out anything. I mean, I thought Dystopia was a good record, but I mean, the thing was like mind blowing or not something. No, they're a different type of band too, right? The world right now is pissed off and angry. Okay, people are pissed off and angry. They've been now for 4 years. Now Metallica, okay, they haven't. They're not pissed off and angry anymore. Those guys are. They don't have. Listen, they just put out a good record. Okay, I like the record. But let's be honest. Like I said, the only person I see on there that's got that fire, that metal, that metal fire is Hetfield. Okay? I mean, Lars is playing mid-tempo, just kind of chilling out back there. We all know Kirk Hammett, and Rob Trujillo has always just looked a little, to me, he's more of suicidal tendencies and infectious grooves than he's ever going to be Metallica. I mean, to me, he doesn't fit the visual, and not just because he's like I said, I've just known him from all those bands. That's just I don't think of when I think of Metallica, he's the last guy I think of, and plus he's the last guy in the band, right? So they just don't have. They're not really carrying to me the flag for metal anymore. Metallica, they're more of a rock band. Yes, they put out a metal album, but it was a little bit more. It wasn't thrash. It wasn't that angry, pissed off Metallica. Now, when you look at that Pantera lineup, okay, Charlie Benante's a monster on the drums. Okay, who cares about Rex? Doesn't matter. He's just Rex. He's been, there. He's just Rex. He's the bassist. But Phil
Yep.
Anselmo is still Phil Anselmo, and Zach is still Zach. Those guys are out there headbanging, running around. Those guys look and feel like they're young. They feel it. Metallica guys, they look old, man. They look slow. They look sluggish to me. They don't have that energy on the stage. Like I said, it doesn't mean they're not putting out or playing good music, but they're just, there's not that energy there. When Phil Anselmo's still up there giving that energy vocally, Zach's still up there banging his head with his long hair. I mean, going nuts. So I just think because of that, they're not really representing really the metal world the way Pantera is these days, and will and continue to do if they do decide to put out new music and continue to tour. Like you said, great point about bringing up needing some new music to be able to continue the cycle and to collect that money. It's just, to me, like I said, I just think Metallica's going through the motions, while with Pantera, because they also have been around for so much longer either. I mean, right, Metallica's been touring all these years, but Pantera's been away for a while, so it's a brand new thing again. Sort of like with Creed selling out all these arenas, people are like, whoa, what? Well, because they haven't been around for 20 years. Same with Pantera, so everyone's re-energized for it. And I think it's a smart move just to do, like I said, I mean, from a point of view in terms of, without making a new Pantera record without Dime and Vinny, yeah, okay, I get it, but let's put it this way. If Phil was gone, do you think they would have done a Pantera record with the brothers and maybe Rex or just the brothers? They might have. They're bringing a new singer. I mean, I think you have that right. Sorry, I'll just quick this point. I think you have the right if you're the remaining band members and those guys are gone. Now, if they're still alive and don't want to do it, I think it's more difficult. If they're gone and not here on this earth anymore, and you got an opportunity here to do this stuff, and that's your band too, because there is no Pantera without Phil Anselmo either, or Rex, then I say it's okay to do. I don't think it's like any kind of blasphemy or whatever you want to call it, doing it.
No.
So anyway, go ahead.
No, and I agree with you. So forgive me for being in the dark. I feel like I'm in a cave here because every light that I have is every light that I have is failing. Even my backup just decided not to
It's
work.
very metal, Tom. It's very metal.
Yeah, it's
there you go.
very gloomy here. But I think just it's a great way to wrap the show. But to talk about this subject. But here's what I think. Look, I don't think they should do it, but the other side of me says I couldn't care less. If they do it, I'd be excited to hear it. But if they do come back, it's going to have to be stellar, because if it's nothing short, and the thing about it is, if you've got that quality of musician, the big chunky Zach riffs, searing guitar solos, if they're going to do it, they have the nucleus. Again, Rex is just Rex, but the rest of them, if they do come back, they've got the nucleus to make a monster album, but they have to make it so good that we're going to say, holy shit, have you heard of the new Pantera album? And then nobody is going to care whether it's blasphemous or not. If the songs are good, then that dissipates. Then it's okay. But they have to come back strong in order to justify it.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think they have to. I think because of the way the state of rock and metal is, we're really metal. I think they could do whatever they want right now, and no one's. I mean, like you said, yes, it's got to be good, but if they could put out, even if there's 2 or 3 decent songs and the rest is filler, I think people don't care. I think as long as they're still out there, because they're also the smart thing too, with getting a guy like Charlie and Zach, is these guys are already, so well known. I mean, they're already legends in their own right. So I think people just want to hear those 4 guys put together music, whether it's called Pantera or not, right? If those guys all got together and say, we're starting this super group here, why people would be freaking like, up in arms about it. Like, this is going to be great. I mean, here comes Zach and Phil together. And I mean, it's crazy, right? So I think people are just excited to hear it. They're going to like it. I think regardless, I don't think it even matters. And like you said, I think, yeah, they're probably just doing it and know they have to do it just to keep the cycle going and to keep the dam going. And I think it is, I think it's good for metal. I think metal needs a Pantera.
Yeah, I agree with
they
that.
They need a Pantera. We've been missing that for so long. So, but now the key is, though, now when, though, does it become okay where it's kind of, run its course? Now, my thing is, Phil Anselmo's only 55 years old. That's pretty young compared to today's standards where these guys are going to. You know what I mean? I mean, he could probably still go. He's in good shape still. He can probably do this for another 10 years. Zach, same thing. You know?
But is it going to become a thing, or is it just going to come another one album, one more cycle, or they're not going to do it? Or they do, and I'm sure they're not listening to our podcast, but I'm sure they're gathering the feedback from fan forums. They're listening to what people are saying. But then let's go back a generation. You know, when Ronnie James Dio came back with To Naomi and Vinny Appice and Geezer Butler, they went back out as Heaven and Hell. So they could have went back out as Sabbath, because Sabbath were not an entity at that time. They didn't. So that was kind of like a side example of what happened, you know, 10 years ago, whatever it was. I kind of remember.
Well, they couldn't, right? Because I don't think they were legally. I don't think they could have used that.
Yeah, because I don't know who owned the name.
Without Ozzy, I think without Ozzy they couldn't. I don't think, you know, without him, I think they couldn't use it. But
they had it with Tony Martin and they had it with Dio. So I don't know what.
Well,
Sharon, I'm sure, had something to say about whatever they were called, or not called, I should say. But
yeah, there was something, and I'm sure they also did it out of respect for the, you know, the legacy of the band too. You know, I mean, they knew they would have been like, oh, you know, there's a lot of people that are just Ozzy people, and those are really the main Sabbath fans, because that was the original Sabbath, right? So, you know, not everyone likes Dio. I mean, as we've seen, it's taken people a long time to like that. So I think
Vivian Campbell.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so I mean, it's. You're right, but the thing is, I don't think there's any legal. There's no legal, I think, concerns at all.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, you've got no. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody that's really come out against it. You know, especially in metal, musicians, artists. You know, people. You know, I mean, maybe, you know, of course, you have some journalists here and there, but most of them, no one's caring. You know, everyone's.
I think at the beginning, there was a bit of a, what are you doing here? Don't, you know, they're turning in their grave, whatever. But then they came back so strong and heavy alive. People went, okay, this is better than I thought. And now it's become a thing. And now we're discussing, as 1,000 podcasts are they going to do a new album? And this debate's going on, you know, ad nauseum with and you know, I don't care, like, but I love Matt. I don't think they should. You think they should? This is what I want, is this kind of beefy discussion. But here's the other side of it: is if they did announce they're going to play in my town, I'm there, and if they do announce they're going to release a new song, I'll have it. So that's how I look at it.
And bingo, right. And listen, and I was one of those guys in the beginning, like, I don't know about this, man. Like, leave it to rest. No Dime, no Vinny. You got to leave it to rest. I was not really fully on board. But now, and it wasn't like I went and saw them either. And it's not like I saw it and said, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's good. No, I'm just thinking now, the more I see it and the energy I see for it, and I see that, these guys really want to do this. I'm thinking, like, you know what? Because I see Metallica's just, remember, because Pantera's a little bit younger. Metallica, like I said, they're getting there, man. They're getting close to the end. They maybe got one album left in them, I'm thinking, right? Because those guys are about to say,
you're probably right.
I just don't think. Listen, I don't think Kirk Hammett, I don't think Lars, I don't think they're really into metal. Where Phil Anselmo has got his Housecore Records, who's put out all this extreme metal stuff for years since Pantera's been gone. So he's you talk about a music fan. He's still and always will be a music fan, Phil Anselmo. You know, I mean, Zach's been on so many, he plays so many different stuff. I mean, Black Label's great. I mean, so Charlie, I mean, once again, Charlie Benante's still playing Anthrax. They're still playing thrash metal. Metallica's not really playing thrash metal. They're playing like mid-tempo metal, more, 80s, like classic metal stuff. So I just think that the way the world is right now, we need a Pantera. We need something like that. And since we're not going to have, obviously they say the music business is shit, and we're not going to get any new bands that they're going to push and become the new Pantera, at least those guys are young enough. They still got the energy. I say, why not?
Matt, they're selling out arenas. I'll take it all day long.
Arenas, exactly. So
selling out arenas. There's 20,000 people a night. But I mean, Matt, this has been a stellar show. We went through a lot of shit here tonight. I'm all rock and metal, and I've got my Gene Simmons shit going on. I'm in the dark. I might do this next week too. I'm kind of liking the look here.
You should just do that. Yeah, put some black eyeliner and some nail polish.
Come
turn on goth up, right? Yeah. Yeah,
I'll do a Mayhemmer look the next time.
There you go. Do a black metal guy.
Do Danny Filth or something,
All right, awesome. Well, great time, Tom. So anything else you want to say before we get ready to wrap this week's segments up?
I'm just looking forward to I mean as I said, we have a week goes by, and obviously we chop up the show and release it at intervals as people can see, but the amount of news that's coming out for 6 weeks into the new year is unbelievable. The releases, the news, the tour dates. So, and I think when we start coming into the spring season and more tours gets announced, we're going to have so much to talk about that it's going to be great.
It sure will. It sure will. All right. Well, Tom, yes, I said, man, great time.
Got it, man.
Of course, to our listeners and viewers, thank you all so very much once again for tuning in this week. I listened to our loud, big, shovel mouse here motoring on here for an hour and a half this week. So, we will see everyone again next week. Everyone have a great weekend, and take it easy. See ya.